Be me, name is Steven. 32 years old, sitting in a lawyer's office holding a check for $487,000. Hands are shaking, can barely believe this is real. 6 months ago, I was unemployed, depressed, wondering if I'd ever work again. Blacklisted from my industry because one woman decided I was the enemy. Now I'm holding almost $500,000. And she's the one who can't find work. Funny how things turn around. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. 2 years ago, I was a claims adjuster at a regional insurance company. Midwest Mutual, been there 4 years. Good job, decent pay, stable career path. Company had about 300 employees across 5 offices. I worked at the main headquarters in the claims department. 40 people in my department, mix of men and women. The work was straightforward. People file claims, I investigate and process them. Car accidents, home damage, medical bills. Not glamorous, but I was good at it. Consistently in the top 10% for accuracy and efficiency. Had great performance reviews every year. My supervisor, Tom, loved my work ethic. Said I was on track for senior adjuster within a year. Life was good, career was solid. Then everything changed in one afternoon. Company announces new head of human resources. Her name is Victoria, 46, comes from a consulting firm in Chicago. First email she sends is about transforming company culture. Lots of buzzwords about equity, inclusion, centering marginalized voices. I don't think much of it. HR people always have initiatives. Usually doesn't affect the actual work. First month Victoria is mostly invisible. Doing meetings with executives, reviewing policies. Occasionally walks through departments taking notes. She stops by my desk once, asks how long I've been here. I tell her 4 years. She nods and writes something down. Doesn't say anything else, just moves on. Weird interaction, but whatever. Month 2 Victoria implements her first big change. New complaint system called Safe Voice. Anonymous reporting for any workplace concerns. Harassment, discrimination, microaggressions, anything. Employees can submit complaints without identifying themselves. HR will investigate all submissions. Sounds reasonable on the surface. Nobody wants harassment in the workplace. But something about anonymous complaints makes me uneasy. No way to face your accuser. No way to know who has a problem with you. Just faceless allegations that HR decides are valid or not. I mention my concerns to Tom. He shrugs and says it's coming from the top. Just keep your head down and do your work. You've got nothing to worry about. Famous last words. 3 weeks after Safe Voice launches, I get an email from Victoria. Subject line says meeting request, confidential. Body just says please come to my office at 2 p.m. today. No context, no explanation. My stomach drops. I haven't done anything wrong, but that email feels ominous. I spend the morning trying to focus on work. Keep checking the clock, anxiety building. 2 p.m. comes, and I walk to Victoria's office. She's sitting behind her desk with a folder in front of her. Another woman is there, introduces herself as Diana from legal. That's when I know this is serious. Victoria gestures for me to sit. Steven, we've received a complaint about you through Safe Voice. My heart starts pounding. What kind of complaint? She opens the folder and reads. A female colleague reports that you made her uncomfortable by commenting on her appearance in the break room. I'm confused, trying to think of what she's talking about. When was this? Victoria says approximately 2 weeks ago. I rack my brain for any conversation I had in the break room. Then I remember. 2 weeks ago, I was getting coffee. Coworker named Jessica was there. We chatted briefly. She mentioned she got a haircut over the weekend. I said, oh yeah, it looks nice. That was it, the entire interaction. 3 seconds of small talk about a haircut. I explain this to Victoria. Her expression doesn't change. She says the complaint states you commented on her physical appearance, which made her feel objectified and uncomfortable. I say, I told her her haircut looked nice. That's just being polite. Victoria says intent doesn't matter, impact does. If she felt uncomfortable, that's what matters. I ask if I can know who filed the complaint. Victoria says no, safe voice is anonymous to protect reporters. I say, so I can't even know if this is actually from Jessica or someone who overheard and misinterpreted. Victoria says the source isn't relevant. The behavior is the issue. I'm getting frustrated now. What behavior? Saying someone's haircut looks nice. Is that against the rules now? Diana from legal speaks up. Stephen, we're not saying you did anything illegal. We're saying an employee felt uncomfortable. We need to document this and provide guidance. I ask what kind of guidance. Victoria slides a paper across the desk. It's a written warning for creating an uncomfortable environment through appearance-based comments. I stare at it in disbelief. You're giving me a written warning for saying nice haircut. Victoria says we're documenting the incident per policy. This goes in your personnel file. Future incidents will result in escalating discipline. I refuse to sign it. Say this is ridiculous. I didn't do anything wrong. Victoria says signing acknowledges receipt, not agreement. I still refuse. She says that's your right, but the warning stands. I leave her office shaking with anger. Go straight to Tom's office and tell him what happened. He looks shocked, says he'll look into it. But he also looks nervous, like he doesn't want to get involved. Next few days, I'm paranoid at work, afraid to talk to any female coworker. What if saying good morning makes someone uncomfortable? What if holding the door open is harassment now? I eat lunch at my desk alone. Keep conversations strictly about work. Even then, I'm careful about every word. Week later, another complaint comes in. This time, I allegedly sighed too loudly during a meeting. When a female colleague was presenting, Victoria calls me in again, says the sigh was interpreted as dismissive and condescending. I don't even remember sighing, but apparently someone felt undermined by my breathing. Second written warning goes in my file. I'm now on thin ice for sighing. This is insane. I start documenting everything myself. Every interaction, every meeting, every conversation. Write down dates, times, who was present, what was said. If they're building a case against me, I'm building one too. Month 3, and I'm miserable. Anxiety, every day walking into the office, wondering what innocent thing will become a complaint. My productivity drops because I'm so stressed. Tom notices, but doesn't know how to help. He's scared too, doesn't want to become a target. The other men in the department are the same. Everyone walking on eggshells. Meanwhile, the anonymous complaints are piling up across the company. Men getting warnings for all kinds of minor things. Talking too loud, standing too close, making eye contact too long. One guy got written up for mansplaining. He was training a new employee on software. That was literally his job. But she felt he was condescending. Warning in his file. The women in the department are uncomfortable too. Not because of men, because of the atmosphere. Everyone's afraid of everyone. Normal workplace friendships are disappearing. Collaboration is dying because every interaction is risky. Month 4 is when everything explodes. I'm in a meeting with 6 people, including a woman named Rachel. She presents a proposal for streamlining claims processing. I think it has some issues, specifically with compliance requirements. I raise my hand and professionally point out the concerns. Say I like the idea overall, but we should check with legal on whether this approach meets regulatory standards. Rachel nods and says that's a fair point. We'll look into it. Meeting ends normally. 3 days later, I'm called into Victoria's office again. Diana from legal is there again. Victoria says there's been a complaint. I allegedly undermined a female colleague in a meeting by questioning her proposal in front of others. Rather than bringing concerns privately, I explain that's how meetings work. You discuss ideas, raise concerns, collaborate. Victoria says I should have raised concerns one-on-one. Questioning her publicly was humiliating. I say Rachel didn't seem humiliated. She said it was a fair point. Victoria says Rachel isn't the one who complained. Someone else observed the interaction and felt it was inappropriate. I ask who. Anonymous, of course. Victoria slides another paper across the desk. This one isn't a warning. It's a termination notice. I'm being fired for pattern of creating hostile environment. 3 documented incidents showing disregard for colleagues' comfort. I stare at the paper, unable to speak. 4 years of excellent work. Top performer, great reviews. Fired for saying nice haircut, sighing, and asking a question in a meeting. I finally find my voice. This is wrongful termination. I haven't done anything that violates any actual policy. Victoria says safe voice complaints are policy violations. 3 strikes and termination is the standard consequence. I say these complaints are absurd. No reasonable person would consider any of this harassment. Diana speaks up. Stephen, the company has made its decision. We'll provide 2 weeks severance and continued health insurance for 30 days. Please clean out your desk. Security will escort you out. I'm in shock. Can barely process what's happening. They call security to walk me to my desk. I pack my things in a box while coworkers watch. Some look sympathetic, others look away. Nobody says anything. Too scared to be associated with the fired guy. I walk out of the building I worked in for 4 years. Box in my hands, career in ruins. Sit in my car for an hour just staring at nothing. That night, I tell my wife Emily what happened. She's furious, says this is obviously illegal. Says we need to find a lawyer immediately. I'm too depressed to be proactive. Feel like I must have done something wrong somehow. Maybe I am problematic and just can't see it. Emily won't let me spiral. She researches employment lawyers. Finds a guy named Douglas who specializes in wrongful termination. Makes an appointment for end of the week. Meeting with Douglas changes everything. I bring all my documentation. The warning letters, the termination notice, my own notes. My performance reviews showing 4 years of excellence. Douglas reads through everything carefully. Asks detailed questions about each incident. When he's done, he looks up at me. Stephen, you have a very strong case. I feel hope for the first time in days. He explains the legal situation. Wrongful termination based on pretextual reasons. Hostile work environment created by the employer, not me. Possible gender discrimination since safe voice disproportionately targeted men. He wants to dig deeper before filing. Asks if I know other employees who had similar experiences. I give him names of guys who got warnings. He'll reach out to see if they'll provide statements. Week later, Douglas calls with an update. He's found 5 other men willing to testify. All received warnings through safe voice for minor issues. All felt targeted for being male. 3 have already quit, 2 are looking for other jobs. He's also obtained statistics through a legal request. Safe voice complaints in 6 months. 47 complaints total. 44 against male employees. 3 against female employees. Of the 44 against men, 38 resulted in disciplinary action. Of the 3 against women, 0 resulted in disciplinary action. The disparity is damning. Douglas files the lawsuit. Wrongful termination, gender discrimination, hostile work environment. Seeking reinstatement, back pay, compensatory, and punitive damages. News of the lawsuit spreads quickly. I get calls from reporters wanting my side of the story. Douglas advises me to stay quiet until the case progresses. Let the evidence speak for itself. Midwest Mutual hires expensive lawyers. Try to get the case dismissed, claim I was fired for legitimate reasons. Judge reviews the evidence and denies the dismissal. Says there's sufficient basis for trial. Discovery process begins. Douglas subpoenas internal documents. Emails between Victoria and executives. Safe voice complaint records. HR meeting notes. What comes out is explosive. Email from Victoria to CEO 3 months before I was fired. Says the company needs to address its male-dominated culture. Recommends using safe voice to identify and remove problematic men. Another email discussing my case specifically. Victoria writes that I represent the old guard mentality, that my termination will send a message to other men about what kind of behavior won't be tolerated. The behavior being having opinions while male, apparently. There's also an email chain about the Rachel meeting incident. The anonymous complaint wasn't anonymous internally. It came from Victoria herself. She was in the meeting and filed the complaint, then investigated her own complaint and decided I was guilty. Judge and jury material right there. Midwest Mutual's lawyers see the evidence. Suddenly, they want to settle. First offer is $50,000 and an NDA. Douglas laughs and rejects it. Second offer is $150,000. Douglas says we're going to trial. Third offer comes right before trial date. $487,000, no admission of wrongdoing, no NDA. I can talk about the case publicly if I want. Douglas recommends taking it. Trial is expensive and uncertain. This is a guaranteed win. I accept. Which brings me back to where I started. Sitting in Douglas's office holding that check. $487,000 for getting fired over nice haircut. After lawyer fees, I clear about $340,000. More money than I would have made in 5 years at that job. But it's not just about the money. It's about vindication. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that what happened to me was wrong, and that there are consequences for discrimination, even when it's against men. Aftermath of the settlement is interesting. A local news covers the story. Man wins six-figure settlement after wrongful termination. Details about Safe Voice come out. The gender disparity in complaints, Victoria's emails. Public reaction is mixed. Some people say I'm a hero for standing up. Others say I'm a sexist who gamed the system. I don't really care what strangers think. I know the truth. Midwest Mutual issues a statement. Says they settled to avoid costly litigation. Deny any wrongdoing. But internally heads are rolling. Victoria is terminated 2 weeks after the settlement. Officially for performance reasons. Really because she cost the company $500,000 and exposed them to massive liability. CEO sends company-wide email about Safe Voice. Program is being restructured. Anonymous complaints will now require corroboration. No disciplinary action without investigation and evidence. Accused employees will have right to respond. Basic due process that should have existed from the start. I hear from former coworkers occasionally. Tom reached out to apologize. Said he should have stood up for me, but was scared. I tell him I understand the environment was toxic. Hard to be brave when your livelihood is at stake. The other guys who provided testimony all found new jobs. One actually got a promotion at his new company. Good people land on their feet eventually. 6 months after the settlement, I get a new job. Different insurance company, senior claims adjuster. Better title and salary than I would have had at Midwest Mutual. They were aware of my lawsuit during hiring. Said it actually made them more interested. Showed I had integrity and wouldn't tolerate injustice. New company is refreshingly normal. HR handles actual issues, not ideological crusades. People talk to each other like human beings. Men and women collaborate without fear. I'd forgotten what a healthy workplace feels like. Year later, I'm thriving. Married to Emily. Baby on the way. Career back on track. Finances better than ever. The worst thing that ever happened to me professionally turned into the best thing eventually. Forced me out of a toxic environment I didn't even realize was toxic. Made me stand up for myself when I wanted to hide. Put me in a better position than I would have been otherwise. Sometimes the fire that burns you also forges you. Cheesy but true. I ran into Victoria once. At a coffee shop downtown about 8 months after everything. She was sitting alone, looked tired. I heard through the grapevine she's had trouble finding work. Her name is associated with that lawsuit now. Companies Google candidates before hiring. Her results aren't flattering. Part of me felt satisfaction seeing her brought low. She tried to destroy my career and destroyed her own instead. But part of me just felt tired. She probably thought she was doing the right thing. fighting patriarchy, protecting women. Couldn't see that she became the oppressor. That her crusade for justice created injustice. I didn't say anything to her. Just got my coffee and left. Not worth reopening old wounds. I've moved on. She'll have to do the same. Got a message from a guy recently. Says he's going through something similar at his company. HR targeting men for minor complaints. Asked if I had any advice. I told him document everything. Every interaction, every complaint, every response. Keep copies at home, not just on work computer. Find a good employment lawyer and consult early. Don't assume the company will be fair. Protect yourself because nobody else will. And most importantly, know your worth. Don't let them make you believe you're the problem. When the system is designed to find you guilty, the system is the problem. He thanked me and said he felt less alone. That meant more than the settlement money, honestly. Knowing my experience might help someone else. Avoid what I went through or fight back if they can't. That's something Victoria never understood. Real advocacy helps individuals. Not categories, not statistics, not ideological goals. Just real people facing real problems. Getting real support. Anyway, that's the story of how feminist HR fired me. For saying nice haircut, sighing, and asking a question. 3 anonymous complaints over 6 months. From a system designed to target men. Run by a woman who saw me as a symbol to destroy. Not a person with rights and a career. She thought she was untouchable. Thought the company would protect her crusade. Thought men would just accept being disposable. She was wrong. I fought back with documentation and lawyers. Exposed her bias with her own emails. Won $487,000 and got my reputation back. While she lost her job and her credibility. The system she built to punish men punished her instead. That's not karma, that's just consequences. Discrimination has costs. Even when you think you're on the right side of history. Turns out history doesn't care about your intentions. Just your actions. And her actions were indefensible. No matter how much she believed otherwise.